Charlie, and this is the Writer's Room. Welcome back. In this segment, I have my mom back again, and she has been regaling us with some of the stories that she had written of her childhood, and today she has another installment. So, on that, let's go. Take it away, Mom.
All right. I left off when we were having company on Sunday at the orphanage. We sat in the playroom, and when our names were called, we went to meet our company. We were fortunate. Some kids had been there all their lives and never had company. Then there was the polio scare, and we couldn't have visitors. We were locked down. I had candy withdrawals and missed seeing our family. It hurt. We three sisters had different personalities, but one bond. If one of us was hurt or had a problem, we shared it. Jackie was and always would be looked up to with reliability and special affection by Donna and I. I, on the other hand, had been primed by Aunt Grace and thought I had been adopted into this family. Weird as it was, I had my own agenda. Donna was very cute and smart and capable and dependable. She was liked by everyone. I always said I had no talent. We had a music teacher and a girls' choir, and singing my heart out when practiced, the nun stopped the organ and said, "Yvonne, you're flat." So singing was not my thing. The same nun taught piano, and as hard as she tried, I couldn't coordinate my left and right hand to play together. Donna had no problem, and she went on to play the organ. But I still had my audience and always a trick up my sleeve. Then there was my hair problem. I had blonde, natural curly hair, and someone was always trying to curl it into long curls. Seems often when the nuns wanted me for something, I was always having my hair curled, and curling my hair got banned. That activity was over, unless there was a special occasion. The nuns had personalities also. Some loved being sent to the orphanage and teaching and forming lives. Most we found were this way. Only one nun told me she didn't like kids. She wasn't around long. She probably asked for a transfer. And the one fact that didn't hit me until later, our parents lost. They were no longer in charge of us. They were now visitors. When we finished 8th grade, we would be placed in a foster home. Jackie had to go, and that hurt. She now became one of the Sunday visitors, and she never missed. I was becoming one of the older girls and taking on responsibility. I think the nuns must have thought their prayers were being answered. I was now in the 8th grade. 7th grade was in the same room. There were the two of us in the 8th, a boy and I. That would have been very nice for our education, but that nun should have been retired long time ago. She had passed the prime of teaching ability. There was something I learned early on. When I was asked to stand and read a paragraph, I had to close the book and tell what I had just read. That still comes in handy today. I was getting a good education, but from the nuns all through my school years. I do remember 8th grade. We were learning to draw a set of railroad tracks. We were learning some art ability. We turned them in, and when the nun saw mine, she picked it up and threw it across the floor. Add art to my no talent of singing and piano playing. And so many years later, I thought, why didn't I ask for help to learn these things, to sing and tune and play the piano and draw? I had it all free and let it go. Our first Easter, our parents had gotten permission to take us home for the weekend. We were so excited, back to our 2-room apartment. Our mom came to get us in a cab. And as we were riding along, my mom pulled a pint of bourbon out of her purse and took a swig. It hurt. It should have been a forewarning. Stanley opened the refrigerator and slammed it closed. It was empty. Our parents were gone most of the time. Our Easter weekend was miserable. When we were taken back, the head nun asked me, "How was your weekend?" And I cried, "Why don't they just leave us alone?" And we never went home again. As I grew, I loved who I was, and I took pride in the things I did. I got to help in the kitchen and serve in the nuns' dining room. They also ate in silence, same as we did. I was the only one who got to learn to run the commercial floor polisher. I polished the marble floors for a lot of special occasions. We had rich sponsors who traded us to different things, treated us. We got new dolls for our beds at Christmas and got to play with the other ones. In the summer, we got watermelons in big trucks, and we got to eat as much as we could. We also got ice cream. The annual school-wide test was coming up, and I was being given special schooling to get ready. I took the test, but I didn't pass. Somehow I turned up the math page and skipped a whole page by mistake. A couple days later, when seventh grade was out, a couple of young nuns took us girls to a big park. They rented bicycles. The nuns paid for us, older ones, to get a bicycle. I had never been on a bike, but after a few tries, I was wobbling down the road when some boys came by and caused me to fall, hitting my ankle on an iron sewer. I kept riding. The next morning, or a couple days, I woke and I couldn't move my foot. A doctor checked it out, said it was a sprain. It was okay to walk on it, but I couldn't. So I was laid up in bed. Long story short, I got a fever, 105. I was delirious and taken to the hospital with a very bad ankle bone infection. So bad that they were trying to get a hold of my father for permission to amputate my ankle. My Aunt Grace threw a fit. She accused the doctor of not doing anything because I was from the orphanage. So they put me on a rather new drug, penicillin. I spent 3 months in the hospital and had to learn to walk again, but I had my foot. I started 8th grade soon as I got home from hospital. My summer was gone, but not wasted. I had terrorized the hospital in a wheelchair. To sum up orphanage life, it was the best thing that could have happened to us sisters. Not so for our brother. He was there from 5 years old to 8th grade. We were going to foster homes, and there was no way to help him. It was 1945. I was happy and pretty well adjusted, heading out on another change of life. I was told I was going to a real nice home, a doctor's wife, a doctor, a wife, and 2 children, a boy and a girl. Another nice lady took me in her car. The home was in a well-to-do part of town. I walked into that house full of a 14-year-old's eagerness to be accepted and do well. 5 years later, I left that house, discouraged and unhappy. I met the family that I would be living with for the next 5 years of my life. It was in the best part of town. Bob was a doctor, a pediatrician. Bernice was a stay-at-home mother with 2 children, a boy named Mike and a girl, Jeannie. The Catholic worker visited us for a while to acquaint us and then left. The door closed behind her. I was left again. And now what? What would I make of myself? I was timid and shy. I was 14 years old. I would be a freshman in September. The house was a beige stucco with a large front porch, half-in screen, half-in driveway. On the other side was the garage. The foyer was a small few coats hung there, including Bernice's beautiful mink fur. It was a beautiful house. Not the marble floors I was used to, but I wouldn't be running a polisher anyway. 4 bedrooms, and I would share one with Annie. Each kid had their own room, and parents had twin beds. There was only one bathroom, and it wasn't very big. There was a stairway to the attic, which I later claimed as my domain. One room and dormer windows that looked out on a synagogue that sat across the street. The living quarters were large living room, private dining room with a breakfast nook off the kitchen, large kitchen, and a toilet stool that was on the landing going to the basement. Of course, there was a door that separated the stool from the kitchen. Very different. The whole house was very clean and uncluttered. As I was about to learn, that is where I came in. I was not there as their long-lost daughter or a friend of the family. The Browns already had a foster child living with them, but she had finished high school and was going to a beauty school and leaving soon. Her name was Annie. We got along great. One of my first lessons was that I was to take over care of the 4-year-old Mike. I was good with little kids. What was unsaid was that Annie had become too close to Mike. Bernice wanted that broken up. The first night I went to put him into bed, I was kicked and scratched and screamed at. I want my Annie, I want my Annie. And Annie was forbidden to come to his or my aid. Up till that time, Annie had become his nanny, and he loved her. What a position I was put in. When I first came to live there, I bragged about my ability to care for young children. That was wiped out in one bedtime scene. It made me look bad, and I felt it. I was to learn the rules of the house. I would be given $5 a week. I would earn it by helping clean, which include helping every phase of the house running. There was no dishwasher. There was no cleaning lady. Oh well, I was used to work. I would have Sundays off after we returned from church till 8 o'clock that night. Fridays, evenings, after the dinner dishes were done and everything cleaned up. There were the seasons to consider. Nebraska's winters were harsh. Friday nights, by the time the doctor got home, we ate, and I cleaned up the kitchen. It was dark. Cleaning up the kitchen meant taking the stove apart and scrubbing it. Nightly job. Also sweep the floor and leave everything in mint condition. Go get dressed and be free. This was all learning things as I went along. It was summertime when I got there, and school was coming up. Bernice took me to town to buy some clothes. My dad was sending a $25 allowance each month from the Army. He was in Germany or some other place. He was a master sergeant. He trained recruits. When he was good, he was very good. And when he was bad, he was a corporal. She and I went to town, and the sales lady suggested, by looking at me, what size I could wear. I think Bernice must have thought the clothes were going to do me for quite a while. She brought me some larger sizes. But I got 4 new dresses and was very happy. I had to hem them. They were way too long on me. On the first day of school, I came down for inspection in one of my new dresses. I had not hemmed it right. Bernice said, "You cannot go to school in that dress." She took me up to her closet and put a heavy gabardine dress on me with long sleeves and a Chesterfield collar in medium brown. It was the first part of September, and the dress came to my ankles. I went to school, my first time to see my classmates and my school. It was Cathedral High. I could not have known how stupid I looked till I reached the school grounds and saw all the girls in colorful, darling pinafores and pastel dresses. I was wishing the earth would open up and swallow me. I looked like a freak. I was wearing a woman's 34-year-old wintertime dress with bobby socks. I was afraid there was little I could do to erase that first impression. Right then and there, I shut down. No one was to know I had lived in a foster home or that my parents were alcoholics. Kids would be cruel, and they were. Thankfully, we wore uniforms part of the time. I tried to find somebody to hang out with. I spent 4 of the most unhappy years of my life in that high school. I had one good friend. My life. I caught a bus from home, transferred to a streetcar, and went right by the school. I was to catch the first streetcar home immediately after school. I had to run to catch it. No time for idle conversation with classmates. They all had places to go. I was never allowed to hang out with them. I lived on a schedule. Get up, get the kids up and ready for school, fix their breakfast, pack their lunches. When this was done, straighten the kitchen and get ready for school, run for the bus. Catch the first streetcar home, read the chores written on the blackboard, and start in. I worked till dinner time, set the table, ate, did the dishes, put the kids to bed, and then did my homework and get ready for the next day. This covers a lot of my life those days. I had Sunday off, which meant I was free to go. Go where? I had no home. When Donna was still in the orphanage, Jackie and I went to see her in Stanley. Jackie and I would go to a show. She got $1 a week, so money was a premium. Streetcars cost. School lunches cost. Female needs cost. It left us very little money. When Donna left the orphanage, we 3 would meet on a street corner. We had time to kill and nowhere to go. Winter time was the worst. It was so cold, but we never stayed home. We always took our days off. The movies, if we could afford it. We still went to visit Stanley, but not every Sunday. My mom visited him, and we got to see her. She always charged me with how I was living with the rich people and getting too high-toned. You betcha, Mom, I was having the time of my life. There were Friday night school dances. I went to some like a fish out of water, but it was some place to go. And to top it off, I had acne with a capital A. I gave wallflowering a new meaning, but I refused to confide in anyone. I don't know how to describe those years. I was the best maid and child's carer they could have ever had. I never in 5 years felt at home or comfortable in that home. Why did I stay? It was me. I couldn't run away. I had no place to go. I did pretty good essays at school, and one of the nuns asked me to join a writing class that met after school. I said I couldn't possibly do that. She said, "Can't that woman take care of her own kids?" I did such a good job of cleaning. I was lent out to help other friends if there was some reason they needed help. The family was going on a Colorado vacation the second year I was there. I was told it was going to be a great experience. This would be so much fun for me. I, of course, fell out of place. And little things like Bernice saying Mike's ears weren't clean. I just checked them 2 days ago and was told to clean them every day from now on. This was on vacation. I was putting them to bed, and Mike wouldn't give up his toy, so I yanked on it. The toy came off and impaled his finger with a fish hook. At the end, he had to be taken to the hospital and have it removed and his finger sewed up. Great vacation. I was miserable the whole time. The food was good and the setting was beautiful. Bernice knew my background and always kept me in my place. I came from the orphanage, feeling good about myself, but was made to feel inferior by remarks and actions. We almost became friends because I was good at what I did. I was 14, then 15, and 16, and I was starting to take shape. Things didn't change that much at school. Jackie took me shopping and brought me a well-fitted bra, my first one, a good one, and I filled it out. I was becoming aware that I was no ugly duckling. I wore sweaters and skirts. I was getting some of the confidence that I left the orphanage with after meaning so little to my present family. I had turned down the second trip to Colorado family vacation. The first one did me in, but now that I was going on 17, I thought it might be fun to go with them again. Bernice bought a dress that was meant for a younger person, and now she was 39, and so she gave it to me. It was pretty, green with gray stripes. To make this long story short, one night at the dinner on vacation, I wore it, and I found matching earrings. There was more to this story on that vacation, but when we got home, she asked for the dress back. She said she had only loaned it to me. I had looked pretty in that dress. Through the years when I had been chastised by Bernice, Bob could tell I had either been crying or quiet, and he would ask me what was the matter this time, but he never interfered to my knowledge. Bernice gave me my $5 on Friday when I was going out. I hated it when I had to ask for it. Once she gave me the money but added I was not getting the corners on the windowsills clean. She would sit and read the paper waiting for Bob to get home, and I would be washing woodwork or any other task. After all, I was getting $5 a week. She had a beautiful silver set, and when I first got there, I asked if I could shine the tin. I was so worldly. They kept a lot of money in the top drawer in their bedroom. I was to pay the laundryman when he brought the laundry. Never once did I take 1 cent, and they knew it. They never moved the money, and they never hid it. I was a junior, and Donna was having some very unpleasant things with her foster home. Jackie was now on her own and had a job as a draftsman with the phone company. She had an apartment, and she brought Donna to live with her. At last we had some place to go on Sundays. I was going to be a senior, and plucked up enough courage to tell Bernice I was going to leave and move in with my sisters. I was so excited. I knew I could turn my life around. I was no longer wearing dresses 2 sizes too big for me. I was not the poor little orphan of 13 they took in. Bernice had a baby, and then she needed me to help her with the baby. I was ready to graduate. I had a beautiful dress and gown and a hat for the ceremony. By then I had gotten extremely upset over my life and how much I had given up. I didn't even ask them to go to the service with me. I left the house, my gown thrown over my arm. The neighbor was just pulling out of his drive, and he took me to the school, saying, "Aren't the Browns going with you?" I got a job in a beauty shop just a few blocks away as a counter girl, $20 a week, $2 for taxes. I was rich. I was starting to date my future husband, and I wanted to be free. I became sullen. Bernice and I weren't speaking. I was going out other than Sunday, and sometimes I asked if I could stay out after 8. I came to hate my life. I was 18, and enough was enough. I stripped the bed, threw them down the clothes chute, walked into the kitchen, laid the key on the counter, and said, "I'm leaving." I called a cab and left. I never went back. I never spoke to Bernice again in my life. All the time she had to help me, she only saw her needs. I was nothing to her, and she became jealous of me. I should never have been placed in a rich family's home. It caused me to feel inferior, and I was scared to ever step out of line. Jeannie came into the beauty shop one day and gave me a check for $600. Bernice had saved it for my $25 a month from my dad. I didn't thank her. I earned every bit of it. I was even ironing the baby's diapers until Bob said they were not absorbent. The $5 I got was never increased. I did without so many things. I never had a razor. I used to sneak Bob's double edge out of its razor and hand shave my legs. Cleaned it up and put it back. I don't know how I did it, but I did. Annie had gotten married to a nice Polish guy, and I stood up at her wedding. She was working in a beauty shop across town, and people were giving her money for her wedding. A friend of Bernice's gave her $20, and she hadn't mentioned it to Bernice. So when Bernice found out, she tore up the $50 check she was giving Annie for her wedding and gave her $25. I think that might have summed up my whole 5 years. I was told a few times not to waste anything because I would never be able to afford the nice things I had there. Maybe not, but I would have compassion that she lacked. I moved into the apartment with my sisters. We had such warm times together, and we learned to laugh and not cry. The longing to cry was what behind us. We were all dating, and Jackie got engaged to a very handsome college boy, and we were so impressed. She was still working for the phone company, me at the beauty shop, and Donna at a doctor's office. We had a small one-room apartment, but we were very happy, and we got along so very well.
Wow. So, this Bernice, that was like far worse than the orphanage.
Oh yeah, much worse, because I was older and more aware.
Yeah. And then she was so cold, and just, you were the servant.
Oh, definitely.
And then she became jealous of you because you started to fill out, and her husband, whether or not he took notice or not.
He did take notice.
Oh, okay.
He did take notice. As a matter of fact, his office girl was going on vacation, and at the dinner table he said, "Bernice, could you spare Yvonne for a week?" And she was very incensed. She said, "Well, why don't you ask me?" And he said, "Well, I didn't think you would do it." And she wouldn't, so I did. And that was, I think, the time she was really beginning to notice, and it did pry us apart.
Well, like you were ever close to her anyways.
No, I was never close to her, but at times, it was kind of like we could accept each other because I was good at what I did.
Yeah.
And
you're still a clean freak to this day.
I know it.
I've never seen anyone clean the floors more often than my mom.
Yeah, I was well trained. I was well trained. I did so much cleaning in that house. It was just, it was a way of life.
But you missed the corners of the windows.
I missed the corners of the windowsills. Almost didn't get my $5. Yeah.
And so then when Annie got married, she found out that someone gave her $20, so she ripped up a $50 gift and cut it in half. Yeah. Like the other person's gift negated Annie, what she was going to give. I mean...
And Annie had been there quite a while, and she was attached to them. I never got as attached like she did. But I thought, oh my gosh, that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
So she must have found somebody after you, because Lord knows she didn't know how to raise their own child, even though she had a third one.
Actually, I never heard, because I never went back. I never cared. I was out, and I was dating the man I finally married, and I just never went back. I never spoke to her again.
And so then all three of you got together and got happy, became, started laughing and such. And all of you ended up meeting someone and marrying, and one marriage only. It was all one and done for all three of you.
Yeah.
And your marriage, I don't know if we mentioned this before, but Mom was married to my dad for 67 years.
67 years. Yes.
67 years.
From the time I was 18 until he died at 89, we were.
Yeah. And one thing I've always found really fascinating is you three sisters, whenever there was a family get-together or you guys were always together, it was always laughter. non-stop fun, and you laughed at everything. And I was always amazed because the more I learned about your childhood, I was like, wow, to grow up and be so incredibly happy when you had such adversity as a child. And that's just mind blowing that, you could turn it all around and become just the happiest people.
It became an art. Why cry? We just decided, and things just made us happy, and we just started laughing. Always, and you kids used to love it when we got together.
Oh heck yeah! It was always so much fun
when
Aunt Jackie and Aunt Donna were together.
Yeah.
Always very very fun holidays.
Yeah.
We had a very vivacious families, and then 5 kids for you, 5 kids for Jackie, and 4 for Donna.
4 for Donna.
So there was plenty of cousins to go around.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, thanks for sharing all that, Mom. It's been really lovely to hear.
Yeah, it was.
And well, she's going to be moving down to live with my sister in 2 days. So this may be the last time I'm able to record a session with Mom. But who knows, maybe with technology I'll learn how to do split screens and have her go on from down in Medford. Anyways, my name is Charlie, and this has been The Writer's Room, and I thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. So long.